Today on the show, we have someone very, very unique. Stephen Forsey, he's a watchmaker and the co-founder of Grubel Forsey. And Stephen, welcome to the show. This is one of my favorite topics. I'm glad you're here to talk to us.
Thank you, John. Great to be with you today.
So usually we have on the show guys who are trying to take us to Mars. And I think what you guys are trying to do is try to push the envelope when it comes to mechanics. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, mechanical watchmaking is a story that's already started over 500 years ago to precisely measure the passage of time. And then if we look back now, sort of 45 years with the advent of electronic watches, suddenly there was all research and development on the mechanical side pretty much stopped dead. So with Robert Grubel, watchmaker, and myself, now end of the 90s, so going back 18 years now, we were thinking, well, it would be, perhaps the story's not finished, and perhaps we can start to rebuild that know-how and maybe push the envelope, because a mechanical watch as a mechanism has a number of advantages over electronics in certain situations.
Why don't you describe those advantages? Because I think our listeners are used to microchips. They think that the idea of a mechanical watch might be a little bit old-fashioned.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, it's something very traditional, but there on that side you've got, in terms of technology, you've got a mechanism which is autonomous, so you can rewind it, so you're really off the grid, which is already very interesting and pertinent even today. And you've also got the possibility, we had a mechanical watch into space already in early space missions, so they can also work in a low gravity, low atmospheric environment. And then beyond that, we've been able to demonstrate at Grubel Forsey an interesting, a fantastic level of precision in terms of chronometry, so precision timing. Mm-hmm. So these are some of the elements. And then mechanical watchmaking is a very unique mix of science and art. So there's this history, there's materials. We're working, of course, with a tiny package of energy, which we're then trying to make work for as long as possible. And that's in your basic mechanical watch with just hours, minutes, and perhaps seconds displayed. But beyond that, we can also add additional mechanisms, which still find a resonance and stronger and stronger with a young audience who's grown up with a totally tech environment. That they're also interested in this cultural and historical facets and aspects of watchmaking.
So you guys make some very complicated watches. These aren't watches that you pick up at the even at some of the middle end stores. These are fairly rare and fairly complex things. Why did you guys decide to make things like a double tourbillon? The tourbillon being the little balance wheel that spins, and in this case, it actually turns around in a full circle, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, from our perspective as watchmakers, as we mentioned, well, we'd lost a lot of know-how in the watch industry through that electronic watch crisis. So one of the first things Robert and I did was to set up a laboratory in-house where we started to build data. Every separate movement that we design and build is adding to a large graph of experiments, which enables us to unravel the mysteries and the finesse of friction, of tribology, of materials, of mechanics, and so on. So the tourbillon is an interesting mechanism because it's a little bit like ourselves as a human. Our heart, if we sit still and we're very calm, then the heart rate is going to stay pretty stable. But as soon as we move, then the heart rate will change. It will become faster. So in the mechanical watch, the heart of the mechanical watch is this balance wheel system with a spring, which is like a small heart itself. And that, depending on whether the watch is on your wrist or in your pocket, is going to be influenced by and the environment around it. So it becomes an interesting technical and scientific challenge to try to protect the balance wheel, try to stabilize it in all different situations. And there, our work, primary work from the late 90s into the early 2000s, notably in tourbillons, so to build this heart of the movement into a rotating cage or multiple rotating cages, enabled us to push the envelope of precision mechanical timekeeping, and to offer that to collectors, and bring back something and say, well, perhaps not everything has been invented.
But I'm never going to take a triple tourbillon up to Mars, right?
Well, why not? Our double tourbillon 30-degree technique, the caliber, is a piece which we entered a precision timing contest in Switzerland. So we gave a complete watch, which you were talking about them not being available everywhere. It took 11 months of man hours to build one watch itself. And that goes for our whole collection. So we took one piece, we gave it to this independent body who set up this precision timing contest. So they put it through a bunch of endurance tests of different temperatures, different positions, different environments. They exposed them to magnetic fields, and they also used a robot arm to shock test them as well. So despite all of those, our piece not only survived, it worked through the whole contest, but we maintained a precision between just 0.3 and 0.8 seconds a day over the whole contest. So that was, for us, that was a fantastic result. Of course, up front, we were pretty sure we could deliver the goods on the day in the test, but you never know. It's a bit like an endurance motor race. In the States, the Indy 500. So you've even got a driver there, and today you've got telemetry and all sorts of fantastic tools. But at the end of the day, your car might break down. There may be some unforeseen situation which comes up. So our piece survived. It won the tourbillon category at the Concours de Chronométrie, and it also has given us the most fantastic boost and validation of our primary work in this area of the tourbillon.
Wow, excellent. So let's go a little bit to the.
So we're waiting for that invitation for one of our collectors to take a piece up there.
All right.
So why not? Could be exciting.
Let's get Elon Musk. He'll put it on one of his robots and they'll send it up.
That could do it. Yeah.
So just a few more questions. So the watch industry as a whole is having a few issues. Would we agree? I think in terms of sales.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's watch industry has gone through incredible growth. Years, 15, 20 years. Many large brands have tripled their production. So we've seen that is a response to a huge resurgence of interest and enthusiasm for the mechanical watch in all its different forms. But of course, this is something you can't, even in the tech industry, you can't have double-digit growth forever. It's never going to, it's not sustainable. So there has been a leveling out of perhaps of the demand as the offer and the capacity of the industry has been built up to be able to reach that.
So the thinking is that they had so much buildup that they have to drop down just a titch to match the demand that is current, right?
Well, I think that's part of it, but I think also have to remember that we're talking about an emotional project. We're talking about culture, history, certain artistic aspects. So there's elements there. Also, global force. It's why we travel a lot. That's why I'm in New York these days, because collectors want to meet us. They want to know about the story. They want to see the pieces firsthand, and they want to feel wanted and needed. And so perhaps some part of the watch industry has become very product oriented, and perhaps they built up too much in the way of stocks. So they need to really listen to the collector. They need to be creative and really bring proper, original, and dynamic stories to the public, to the collector, to the watch enthusiast. You know, it's we're looking today. It's interesting because we're looking at a new generation, what we tag as millennials, perhaps. These are people who've grown up with technology. We have some collectors also in the tech areas in the US and in other locations who high-tech industry, but they've got this fascination for mechanics, often with an engineering background, and so they get to a point where they want to complete their experience across the board. So it's so for us these are ideal watch enthusiasts to meet with and to share our story.
So what is the story for the next generation of watch enthusiasts? What should they be looking at? Why should they even care about a mechanical watch?
Well, as we said, a mechanical watch is an emotional investment or purchase, and yet it's something we build a story with that. You know, if you want to offer a gift to a nephew, to your future wife, husband, etc., or then it's something which tells a story. It's a connection between us. It's this cultural and historical side, and most the watches built today or in the last 20, 30 years, again, pretty much all of them have the potential to be able to survive for decades, perhaps hundreds of years. So, it's there's a very strong link there. But the collectors will be looking for credibility, authenticity. This is something again where, as we've become much more connected around the world, I think we all look for that more sincere, proper authenticity in whether it's food, the food we eat, the vegetable products, the meat that we buy. We want to know where it comes from. We want that authenticity, and so I think these are things which the informed consumer and collector, future watch enthusiasts are really they're really looking for, and it's something that corresponds totally with the Global 4C story already now since right before we launched. So going back those 18, when I started out with the idea to create a truly authentic, very special, highly finished, highly technical, and yet reliable and hopefully aesthetically appealing timepiece each time. So our tourbillons were a very important, groundbreaking work there, where we were completely way ahead of the general state of the technique. And then we've come further with such pieces as the perpetual calendar, which we launched just over 2 years ago now. And our mechanical perpetual calendar is programmed till the year 2100. So we talk about smart technology today, but this piece is totally autonomous, and so it's hand wound, and yet the calendar is so easy to set. You suddenly have a high complication wristwatch timepiece, which has got an exquisite level of craftsmanship, expertise, and finish. And yet, in terms of the practicality, we've actually called it a smartwatch for disconnected people. So you're off the grid, but you're completely autonomous there, and you can just change through. It's got a rapid correction, which corrects all of the calendar, totally mechanical. So it's a very exciting piece, but you really need to see one and have it firsthand with you to be able to really start to grasp the level we had to go to with our engineer, with our technicians, using all of our expertise to the very limit to create this very exceptional timepiece.
All right, Stephen. Hopefully, there's no Y2K problem that you have to deal with on that watch. Else you'd have to.
Well, yeah.
We'd have to.
No, we're going to. Well, the year 2100 is interesting because the Gregorian calendar has a 400-year cycle. So there is a small adjustment there to change the century indicator. But between now and then, probably the collector might like to have one or two services. So it's an interesting for us to see. We'd all be there to see it. You never know.
You never know. You never know. All right, Stephen Forsey, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure.
Great talking to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.